Yesterday is gone forever. Tomorrow, uh, Hey everyone, what's up? It's JTC once again. I'm just letting you know there's some very, very important updates on the Daniel Robinson case. I had a lot of fun making this video for you guys, so make sure to give it a good look. Spread the word. Definitely pass it on to your friends if possible. Let's get the word really out there. Like, comment, subscribe. Yesterday is gone forever, but tomorrow, that's another story. Thank you. Okay, folks, this is very important to document. Once again, this is Matthew T. Stewart, who had lived or still lives sometimes in Surprise, Arizona. Matthew T. Stewart, to be exact. All right? Okay, folks, let's theorize just for about 24 seconds here. Why would Mr. Stewart desire to hide certain things about his identity and key information? We do know that Mr. Robinson was a geologist and a fan of outdoor school functions and school events. And it's certainly possible, at least at this point, Mr. Stewart could have seen him, being that he worked in contracting a lot. He could have seen him at one of these events. Thank you. And this is Matthew T. Stewart also. See? At first I thought that this was just, his direct brother, okay? That they looked very similar. But when you look at the pictures up close, it's him. It's the same man. That's correct. This is in 2016, and this photo of him is actually in 2020. So, of course, he's going to look slightly different. Not much different, but slightly different. It's the same man. So why is this important? We want to know again about Matthew Stewart because he's a person of interest in Daniel Robinson's disappearance, okay? And he formerly worked at some very interesting companies, folks. Absolutely interesting companies, and that's why some of his profiles have for some reason been deactivated. And that's hard to be able to decipher why. Why would they delete the profile? I mean, there shouldn't be anything wrong. If he honestly has nothing to do with Daniel Robinson's disappearance, I mean, why delete the social media profiles? And so, that's exactly my point. This is very suspicious. It is. And also, what you're going to discover, right, is this man right here, okay, is his direct brother. That's why it was unusual to see him being such a huge fan of all this artwork and things like that, and then we don't see him that much in Arizona. It's because it's not him who's involved. He's involved in the other arena, but Matthew T. Stewart is the one that's involved directly in Arizona right now. So this is the one that's connected in some different ways to TruGreen Trucking Company. And so that's why we're going to this address right here. Very, very important. At the end of the day, Daniel Robinson is going to thank me. He's going to thank people for getting to the bottom of this and finding out what happened, once and for all. But I have a feeling it's going to be a long journey sometimes. And, I don't have anything going on about that. But some people might not like the wait. But the greatest things, come to those who are patient, to those who wait. So here we are. That's their truck, apparently. His recent truck. I guess you might be able to say it's his most recent truck. This is an interesting property because, this is a property where you see a lot of lawn care for some reason out in the middle of the desert. And who would have thought, that sort of thing would be found all the way out here is what I'm going to say, because it's pretty unusual when you think about the fact that there's nothing in Surprise, Arizona other than just a giant desert. And so over here, they have a lot of lawn care going on. They have some trucks that are going into various areas, which is kind of suspicious because you see them connected to the contracting company that's been talked about this whole time. And a couple of these trucks that have been run across are connected to Pioneer Landscaping Service. So what you have out here is some very interesting dynamics. And I'm going to say in the next part here, we're going to follow at least one of these trucks. Let's find out where these trucks go. I'd certainly like to find out where all these trucks are going, wouldn't you? Especially at this point. So we're going to do that. We're going to follow a few of these trucks. And we're going to start going to these actual addresses. I feel very blessed that I was able to find and locate this exact information on Mr. Stewart, because he's hidden a lot of his life from public view for some reason. And I don't imagine that he's an actual suspect, but he's a person of interest now. And this is interesting, huh? They play the Star Spangled Banner all the time, things like that. It's very interesting guy. And he worked for these landscaping companies. He has some ties to TruGreen. And this is unmistakably the same Matthew Stewart we've been after, that we wanted to really look at. So this is interesting, folks. He's an avid outdoorsman. He hides a lot of his information because he doesn't want anybody following his personal life for some reason. So I have to believe and think at this point that he would know something because he was a draft pick also, at least all the way back in around early 2016, draft pick in the NFL and similar, that he would know something very important in regards to Daniel Robinson and how Daniel Robinson most likely disappeared. I mean, wouldn't you imagine that? He goes out on these green golf courses all the time. He's always out there trekking it out. Or maybe that was his old life. Maybe he doesn't do any of that anymore, because we see now him very involved in kind of a different career, working on engines, working on ATVs and things like that. Maybe that old life of his is gone. But what's strange again is he just keeps popping up over and over again, folks. And, the address, once or twice would be coincidence, but the address for where Matthew Stewart is located in Surprise, Arizona, it's not easy to get to. It's all the way out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. And so I firmly believe and suspect, rightfully so now, that he knows quite a few things about what happened to Daniel Robinson, and he can tell us some things. And, I'd like you guys to make sure to get this video out there further. Spread the word. Let's get it so Matthew Stewart, etc., finally gets interviewed. Let's get. This is fairly disturbing, folks. We're going to cover this for just a minute. This is a photo taken directly, in Surprise, Arizona still. But this is right off of essentially Wattle Road, special road called Water Road, and it's on West Olive Avenue is where this took place. So what's strange about it, of course, is they have all the bags, but we don't know what's actually in some of the bags. And from the look of it, it almost appears like there may be body parts, there may be something else in the bags than what we normally, expect to see. So this is very important to document. And we'll go to this location for just a second this time. But I wanted you guys to see it up close so that you noticed, this has been going on for a while. So folks, here we are once again. I'm following some of these trucks off screen so that we aren't going to spend time that we don't need to be spending. But this is the CenturyLink building of Tempe, Arizona. That's right. It's where a couple of these interesting trucks have been disappearing to. Now, TruGreen of Tempe, Arizona was supposed to be, okay, folks, literally right here in this area. And apparently this is the location where they did have an office, and it went bankrupt. So technically there's really not supposed to be any kind of TruGreen company in Arizona. And yet we see these trucks, some unmarked, that belong or are affiliated with the TruGreen lawn care services. So that's what's unusual, and that's what we need. We need to get real, final, definitive answers on this. But, one of the most important things is tracking back who these people are, what they're doing, and why are they always going back and forth, into Tempe, Arizona. What's important that's in Tempe, Arizona? And we already know now that these we already know now that these folks are connected, directly to the contracting company that we've been talking about this whole time. And Matthew Stewart is his name. He likes to go to the Greyhawk Golf Club, apparently in Scottsdale. And some people are going to be like, that cannot be the same Matthew Stewart. But that's what I thought at first. But folks, it is in fact him. Yeah, make no mistake, it is in fact him. I wanted to believe it has to be someone else. No, it's the same guy. So what is going on with Matthew Stewart that he has some kind of issue around that? It's possible that from documentation that I've looked at, that Mr. Matt Stewart, okay, who's in Arizona, and he still lives in Arizona apparently, has what's called dissociative identity disorder, DID. What that means is John Wayne Gacy had that disorder. So we don't know if Matthew Stewart is truly a serial killer or something yet, but I guarantee he's been covering up, at least a couple of different crimes, criminal, actions, possible murders, and things like that, of course. And we don't know enough about Mr. Stewart to be able to make a fair assessment, but we know, and I can tell you now, right now, that the reason why he's doing this with multiple profiles, and for sure, is because he does have that disorder. So he has some real issues internally. That could be possibly why he may have witnessed some kind of crime or something most likely did, related to Daniel Robinson, and might have witnessed something around his disappearance, and so on. That could be very, very possible and plausible at this point. And it's tough to say. He obviously wouldn't have done anything with Daniel. But he has some real problems. He's covered up some crimes. He likely knows exactly where Daniel Robinson might be at this point. I'm pretty certain of that now. And who is it? We don't know enough about Matt Stewart to make a fair assessment yet. We know about TruGreen. We know about the contracting company he's been with, things like that. But we don't know enough about Matthew Stewart himself to really make a fair assessment. And what I suspect is the case is that he knows some information that's very relevant to Daniel Robinson's whereabouts. The unmarked trucks in the CenturyLink store and so on, no coincidence at all. But there are some skeletons in his closet that he's not really too interested in dragging out. That's why all these things have been happening. That's why my phone has been affected as well. And it's time to officially get answers. Now, why do I bring up the fact that Mr. Stewart is more of a person of interest than we give him credit for yet? Because I've discovered, folks, that it appears Matthew Stewart, and that's his real name, by the way, Matthew T. Stewart, is tied to the Branch Davidians. That's correct. He very well or very likely is a part of the Branch Davidians. And so that's why this is much more significant than it would first appear, on its face. There's something that's been going on here for a long time that is certainly tied to the Branch Davidians. And does he know where a few of the skeletons are in the closet for the Branch Davidians? Yeah, you pretty much can guarantee that at this point. This is his other house. He's definitely not what we would think a typical freshman in the education workforce and things like that would be. His contracting work is very, very interesting. He's got some real spotty areas in his resume, the contracting work. And of course, this is an unusual place to live, to be living out here. And so it's gotten me to start putting together a theory. Perhaps Mr. Stewart was witness to some kind of incident with Daniel Robinson, or perhaps he ran into the people who took Daniel Robinson, but he's seen Daniel Robinson before, is the key issue we need to be aware of. This is Surprise Ford of Surprise, Arizona. It's a pretty strange dealership, admittedly, isn't it? Fast food restaurant or something over there. And then look at that. White vans, right? Some trucks that probably don't need to be there, running around. And then, of course, there's a delivery van for somebody. So, anyway, this was apparently his most recent employment. Mr. Matthew Stewart's most recent employment was at the Ford dealership of Surprise. And we can see there's a lot going on. They got some interesting events apparently being staged or something right here at the grand opening for some reason. But, you know, there's other unusual things about Mr. Stewart that really need to be looked at. He was a director for the city of Gallatin, Tennessee, folks. So, in other words, this guy doesn't just live in Arizona, although he's living there for now. He comes out of Gallatin, Tennessee, and similar areas. And there's really some strange criminal background about Mr. Stewart. He was arrested as a prostitute in Wado, Arizona. That's correct. Under the name Richard Arnold Dason. I haven't been able to get real key information about what in the world was going on here. You know, really. But he apparently went under a different identity with a different age and all of that. And so he has a criminal background that includes DID, which is dissociate identity disorder, the same disorder that John Wayne Gacy had. So he certainly has the profile characteristics of, you know, a possible serial killer. But he definitely wasn't the serial killer who killed Daniel Robinson or anything. He does know a lot about this situation. And that's why it's very important we follow exactly what's going on with him. And unfortunately, these trucks are not being very cooperative to find, you know, the source of where all these different little cars and things are coming from. But we will get to the bottom of it. And what's strange is, you know, his direct brother is the one who has all the artwork of Lord of the Rings. Everything on Lord of the Rings for some reason. And he was a draft for the NFL. And he has been married more than several times. And, most importantly, he's affiliated with the Sextons. And those are the serial killers I've been talking to you folks about for a while. William Sexton, Eric Sexton, and other members, Carl Sexton, and so on. They were big fans of Jeff Manfredini music and similar things. And Sexton is a serial killer who is directly linked to the Branch Davidians. That's correct. So we have here, I would say, a very strange dynamic to follow. And it deserves a deep dive. So we're going to get much further into this. We're going to look at his history, his records, and what in the world, you know, is really going on with this guy and what's going on in Arizona, you know, no matter what. But most importantly, you know, I want you guys to spread the word for sure. Like and subscribe, and also make note of the fact that, as I promised, we're going to be going over that bank institution. I think it might have been Wells Fargo or something like that. We're going to be going over key information and files on that very shortly in a video. And I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to that. So look forward to that as well. There's a lot to cover. We need to understand what's been going on here in Arizona. Thank you. For the end of the video, this is the Greyhawk Golf Club of Scottsdale, Arizona. For some reason, we are unable to go into the actual interior area of the golf club. And I wanted to go in there because there are some questions I just need to get answered, you know. And they've blocked out access, and of course, all of the traffic cams are blurred out. But I will promise you that we are going to revisit Greyhawk Golf Club, and we will go in there on Google Earth. We're going to go in there, and we're going to go to every one of those areas that he likely would have visited. Anyway, this is an interesting note to sign off on. And of course, out here, the trucks are just very, very suspicious. Always. Always interesting. Thank you again. So again, folks, just for the tail end here of the video, this has been good and very eye-opening to really start to delve into the deeper patterns of Daniel Robinson's case, because it is an unusual case. And next time, I officially plan to go to Caitlin's address to be able to examine that address and see what happened over there. And, you know, I just want to encourage you all to, for certain, post your theories. You know, if you come up with interesting ideas based upon these connections and things, share those. You know, we encourage all types of theories and ideas and things, because the most important thing is being able to resolve what truly happened in these cases. So, you know, I encourage that. But at the same time, some theories, if they're not based upon, you know, relevant facts or evidence and things, try not to share those too much. Like this idea that I think Jelani's body or somebody's body in Illinois is not the same person and things like that. I admittedly had never heard anything about it, so I mean, I'm okay with if people are choosing to believe that, but don't get too carried away with those ideas, because the most important thing is the hard evidence is revealing, you know, the autopsy reports were tampered with. That's what we have hard evidence for. And of course, Galarza is a serial killer. We definitely have hard evidence for things like that. And so just to keeping things like that in mind, of course, with any of these cases. But I will say, when I look at the Branch Davidian connection, I do agree, because the Branch Davidians are very linked to the Samantha Sperry kidnapping, and also apparently Summer Wells as well. So I do agree there's definitely some true connections coming to light there. I don't know how much hard evidence there is yet to connect it directly to Daniel Robinson. However, I have looked at my personal theory when I've been studying Mr. Stewart's background and so on, and I really do feel, when I look at the connections between him and the Branch Davidians, that it's certainly always a possibility. So keep in mind certain things, and, you know, come up with ideas, because that's the most important thing I like to encourage people to do. And of course, spread the word, and if you can, you know, assist on Patreon or donate something towards Patreon. You know, it's greatly appreciated. It all goes to help solve these cases, really get a proper resolution and answers to what's going on in the world, and be able to close up these loose ends. There's so many loose ends that have been going on, you know, with different things that have happened in our society. And I feel like it's time to be able to really start closing the chapter on some of these more burning loose ends at this time. So again, I appreciate it, and until next time, take care.